Hello. Well, I thought I'd try something different today. I'm going to show you how I pick out the patterns and colors for specific projects. I use a particular method that probably a lot of people use. I always refer to a color wheel mentally because I have it memorized. And a color wheel, for whoever doesn't know, is has the primary and secondary colors. It can also have mixtures of other colors in there. Um, of the secondary colors. So the primary colors are yellow, blue, and red. Those colors cannot be mixed by mixing two colors together. The secondary colors are mixtures of those colors. So yellow and red make orange, red and blue make purple, and blue and yellow make green. Now, the colors that are across from each other on the color wheel are the colors that look best together. The colors that are in those families work well together visually. And that's what I tend to refer to when I'm picking colors out. I'm just so used to doing that. So, for example, if I'm using a pretty purple, now, I wouldn't necessarily use yellow next to it because I'm not a huge fan of yellow, although I do have a yellow jacket that I love. But I would probably use a chartreuse, some kind of a greenish yellow, and that would look fantastic together, depending on what the purple is. So there's a lot of like kind of fussing with it that I do because I like it to look perfect. So here are some of my fabrics that I picked out for my stash. And I'm just going to show you how I would normally pick out the colors. So, the basic pattern that would be most of the piece. Like I'm going to show you a tablecloth that I made. So let's say if this is going to be the dominant fabric, which is a beautiful fabric actually, I would go through just like this and just put it next to all these other fabrics to see which one does looks good, which one jumps out at me as, oh, that looks good. And this one actually jumps out at me as this looks great. Now, for a couple reasons. One is they have a similar pattern on them, but also the colors I think look really great together. Now, for a complementary color, the color that comes to mind immediately for me is green. Now, green is opposite from red on the color wheel. That's not why it came to mind. It just came to mind because I think it would look great with these colors, but it does happen to be across from red on the color wheel. So I think these would look fantastic together. So that's the process that I usually use. It's kind of a lot of fussing that I do. And sometimes I like putting a little edge of a different kind of fabric on there. So I collect these fabrics that appeal to me, and some of them are out of print. So I just have them in a drawer, and when I need something, I go through and I love picking them out. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I've made and how I put the colors and patterns together. So now I needed a tablecloth, and of course, I couldn't find one that I liked. So I started looking online. Actually, I usually like buying them in person, but there's not a great selection out there, for me at least. So I found this fabric that I really, really loved this. And this is, the part that covers the table. It's the major part of the tablecloth. And then I had these other fabrics that I had had for quite a while. Like this one is a little strawberry fabric that I loved, but never found a use for it. Well, this was perfect for the ruffle, and I loved putting a ruffle on here. I love a ruffle. Who doesn't love a ruffle? And then this fabric, this was something I got in North Carolina a long time ago, and I just loved this, but I never found a use for it. So I was so excited to use it on this, and I love the way it looks. And then this is some red velvet that I dyed. And I like mixing also the textures together. I'll put a little velvet here and there, and I love the way that looks. So This came out great, I thought. I loved it. But of course, because I'm such an overachiever and perfectionist, I thought, why not make it a reversible tablecloth? So on the back side is a whole other tablecloth. Now, I didn't use any secondary colors on this. I just used, I'm sorry, not secondary, but complementary colors on this. But I thought this worked beautifully together. I will admit, I don't use this side as much as I use this side, but I have used it and it looks great on the table. So that's a tablecloth I made. I also made a shower curtain, not like this, but using this kind of method. Well, I loved the tablecloth so much that I thought that would make a great skirt. So, with what I had left, I made myself a skirt. Now, I did not use a pattern. I made my own pattern because I sew a lot and I felt like I could do it. So I used two pieces. I used a long strip for one of the pattern pieces that tapered a little at the top for the waist. And then I used, I don't know if you can see it in the video, a triangular piece that would make it flare out. Now I love a flared skirt and I love a ruffle. So I really spent a lot of time picking out the ruffle complementary colors. So I used the red velvet like I used on the tablecloth. I used a different strawberry fabric. And then I used this fabric, which I just loved. It's eggs. And then I used a little different fabric on the edge just to add a little complement. And I loved the way it came out. Well, then I thought, I'm going to make another one. So I made this one. Now, this one has even more detailing on this. I loved the way this pink looked with this pink. And part of why this looks so good is it's a little bit purplish and it's next to this yellowish green. That's why it looks so great because those are opposite on the color wheel. Now, I put a little tiny complementary fabric on the edge of that ruffle. And then I did another ruffle and I put a complementary fabric on that. I loved making these. And I have to say, I get quite a lot of compliments and comments on these skirts. Well, then I made another one. And here's my third one. Do you love it? And this one, green, is one of my favorite colors. This one has the pink velvet, and this one has the pinkish ruffle that I thought looked great with this greenish fabric. And then I had this fabric. Now, these were all pieces that I kind of had, but I didn't have a use for. So that was the other thing that was so nice. I ended up using these up, on this. Of course, I ended up buying more fabric too, which is like kind of, not the point. I was trying to use fabric up, but that's okay, right? We all do that. So, have you ever seen a dog that is about to get fed? And when they see the food, the saliva comes running out the sides of their mouth. That's me with fabric or embellishments or other art supplies. I love buying supplies and I love really high quality supplies. I don't use fabric that I don't feel is a good quality. I think there's a lot of it out there. So I end up buying a lot of it from Etsy. And I also like going to my local quilt shops. We don't have many around here. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because I had so much fun putting these together. And I just wanted to tell you what method I use in case if it helps somebody. So I hope it helped.